Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. You are about to join a frequency that will open your mind, expand your heart, and activate your spirit. Thank you for joining Kelly Meehan, Spirit Baby Medium and Master Energy Therapist. Kelly believes in the power of the Spirit Baby. She speaks with babies in spirit before life, in the womb, and after life. She supports, teaches, and guides others to tune into the intuitive and mystical parts of life for greater wisdom. Join her in meeting your soul baby and build your connection and relationship with deep love and trust. Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio with your host, Spirit Baby Medium, Kelly.
Welcome to episode 85, April 18th, 2020. This is a special episode. Live Spirit Baby energies of Rebirth, Reassurance, and Rejuvenation. What questions do you have? What is your personal story with Spirit Baby? What struggles are you enduring? How can you create and build clarity within your journey into parenthood? And as I said, this is live. I've never done a podcast live before. I'm kind of smiling about it because it just seemed easier to pre-record everything, especially with guests and different people. And I always question, do I need to be live? I don't know how that works. And I really do feel like in the new year, I wanted to create more energy for 2020 and even over the next years is to really get the people, real life people, connecting people into this space to have the conversation, to even share your stories. And I know many are very curious about even their own journey, and you know, we can connect with different questions and different insights, and I have to just, be really clear, and it's not a full hour reading, or maybe it will be for somebody, who knows, we'll see, but it's not a full, like when I do my work with people intimately and energetically, there's a lot happening. I'm not, I would call like a popcorn psychic where I'm just like, spilling out information all over the place. And it's not, I don't feel like it's meant to be connected that way. And this is why in my sessions, there is a certain vibration that's created. And sometimes people, some of you may feel like, information may come and no information may come. And so just kind of being open wherever you are. I'm kind of vibing out this live experience because I think it would be kind of nice even just to have a few people. I can't obviously have every single person having their questions answered. I want to kind of deepen a connection with some questions and really kind of sit there and kind of like expand with them. Let's look at the energy of them and be with that. And even if you have a story, again, there's so many women, so many men, so many couples that have stories of not just in conception with their spirit baby, but in pregnancy, very accurate and validating stories, as well as even healing with multiple, areas of birth loss, like even those stories of connecting with what I like to call is the child of light and getting that connection and really, being with all these different spiritual experiences. And I know I welcome you here, and I know that we are still in a very weird place in our world, right? In this, pandemic or into this uncertainty, and I do feel like it's important to acknowledge that actually in most all podcasts that I'm doing, that I'm not, being nonchalant about what's happening, and I'm a part of the collective. I'm a part of us, and I know many people continue to ask about what do the babies think and how do they feel? And of course, babies still want to be born. And there's so much we are learning about what that looks like and having to be advocates with our own lives in certain ways and how we want to hold the fear, right, individually. And what that looks like for each person is very different. And I've spoke a lot over the podcast, even in my newsletters, about my interpretation of fear. And one of these quotes I came up with was, I'm not going into the fear sandbox today, and you can't make me. And so we get to have a choice, I feel like, on so many levels of how we react and interact into the world and what's being triggered or maybe what's not being triggered. That where you are in this journey there's a level of perfection in it. And as I keep also promoting is, what are you doing in this time if you have infertility diagnosis? Because I do feel like infertility isn't a lifelong sentence. Even if you're going on 10 years, let's say, or even 5 years, take it a little bit further back there, it doesn't mean that, you know, you're not meant to be a parent. It really doesn't. And there's so much involved in that. And I can only share from my own experience working with others, sometimes on many different levels, psychologically, energetically, continuously, to see how to deepen and how to move into that next space. And I, you know, of course, I'm holding accountability for people, and I want to say gently provoking the energies in a way and see where people's energies are and what they can tolerate to really, you know, expand into that psychic awareness. Because your baby or babies, guess what? They love to speak to your psychic space. They love to work with your empathic abilities, your auditory, your kinesthetic, wherever your spiritual talent is. This is their communication. And if you feel kind of unaware or scared or just not available, then it's going to be very hard to find any connection with spirit baby energy. And as I say, is energy is a language. It's learning a new language. And this is why I started mentorship right now. I opened it up for 2020 was my intention, and taking on a few students to go deeper into what is the inner story, what is that piece of awareness that wants to unwind, and where is the connection? How are you then taking in the language? What is the language? How is it being learned? It is a language. It is a certain sensory perception, and it does require practice. Just like, you know, you may be opening up awareness around your conception or healing through multiple loss and just wondering, or maybe you're in pregnancy going, oh, I feel my baby in there and there's something happening, and what's that connection like? And it's, you know, I know when I'm supporting others in different ways, it is always really fun to connect with women in pregnancy. I mean, there is a sense of joy, especially when they're like getting really down there in the trimesters, and I feel like baby's doing their dance, hanging out, doing their thing, communicating, connecting, and how they want to. And in this time especially, it's quite healing and profound that we can able to receive, you know, these beings coming into in this world at this time. So I have here a number. You can call in, and you could press *2 to raise your hand. Also, there is a Q&A box. I may kind of skim through that and see if anybody has anything that kind of pops out or has a comment. But let me see what the number is. I'm a little ill-prepared. I was like, I was going to have the number. And I do have it on Facebook in the group, and even just the Facebook profile, because I do have, if you are international, which it is kind of late internationally, so people may not be making it unless you're like Australia international, then it's probably a better time. Or no, it's actually probably a day ahead and very early. And so there is numbers posted. You can also access through the web. And there's a local and international line, because I don't want people to have to feel like, oh, they have to pay for this call. That's not where our technology is now. But the dial-in number is 425-440-5010. And the PIN to get in is 979134#. So it's 425-440-5010. And the guest PIN is 979134#. So let me see any incoming questions. So let's see. I do have a question. Is it a question or a comment? Maybe I'll just read it and see what it looks like. From California, I was on a call with you not too long ago. I mentioned we write him letters, our spirit baby, and made a scrapbook for our spirit baby boy, Luca. I also made bracelets for my husband and with his initials on them, so he is always with us. We have talked to many people who have told us we have a boy with us in spirit baby world. We don't know what to ask anymore. We have asked about timing. We can get support. At this point, my husband and I would ask if he was any messages for us. I'm 44 and concerned he might decide not to come to us. I know that's such a hard place to be, again, being in the uncertainty and the not knowing, and how beautiful it is to create honoring, to create that connection of the bracelet, and to question, you know, your son with you, this spirit energy, and is he coming? And of course, there's a concern, which is understandable, about age. And as we know, age is, is a part of the concern. It's not. I'm not going to say, oh, well, don't be concerned about your age, but also at the same time, there's so much in play in that. Like, of course, you're asking, going, when are you coming? What does this look like? And sometimes there are going to be very clear, intuitive answers, and sometimes there's not. And I've even seen that when I've worked with other people, supporting people continuously more than ones that just kind of pop in and out. And people I support more continuously, I do notice that the energy does change. It changes. So even though now it may feel like, where's baby, and if he's here, is he not here? It's okay to like kind of be in fear a little bit, nervous about that, but also knowing how to come back to that space. Like, okay, if he's not here, but how is he getting here? I feel like sometimes we have to kind of dig deeper into our own space and ask different questions even. And not just assuming. I see this a lot, I feel like, with people. There's a lot of assumptions. And the journey of conception, healing, the journey of loss and into conception, it's a very sacred, very inward process. And I've seen really, amazing things with women when they've kind of found their own rhythm into what it means to conceive and how to do that. This is why I really love energy work and medical intuitive work. Sometimes there are, inconsistent mysteries with the body that sometimes even doctors will miss over and over and over. And I've had some confirmation from some women that have been working with consistently or have come back years later to tell me there was something that was seen and it was questioned and then was looked further to find that there was an issue. There was a deeper issue that for some reason, who knows? Is it divine timing? Is it, was there a reason why that was revealed later? Or is it maybe there's still a connection of still working in the space going, okay, what is this? There's so much more to the journey and what does that look like? So more than anything with that question, I feel like I could just, support, the inward journey of where you are. And if it feels like, the fear or the uncertainty feels pushing it, I feel like to sit with that, to be with that, and to see what wants to be revived even around the meditative practice. What happens too, I feel like, is we get kind of routined, right? And we all do that, like in our meditation. But we do have to change the energy up from time to time and really take risks. I feel like that's where the deeper energy comes in. And it may not be rainbows and butterflies. It may be like feelings of death. It may be feelings of, incredible emotion. That is not negative. That is just the unwinding experience that's moving you deeper into that more expanded self. That's allowing whatever it is this journey is for you, your partner, or if you're not in partnership, and also for this other being. They're not like the victim. They're not just watching. They're not just, there is this perception of waiting, of course. There is a sense of waiting that, and it's all interpretation, I feel like, because we have to be careful about, what do you mean my baby's waiting? What are they waiting for? I'm here. And it's so much more than waiting, because there's something in our world that's going on, and there's something in their world that's going on. And again, as I always say, there is going to be levels of mystery, things that we're not really sure about, but we show up to it. You show up to it. So I have some hands raised, and I'm going to unclick Corona, California.
Hi, Kelly.
Hello. Hi. I want to be like, you're on the air. It sounds so fun to say it like that.
Hi. Nice to be in
How are you?
the air. It's the first time. Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good.
That's good. I'm happy you do this call or class. I don't know how to say. It's kind of combination.
You're on the
workshop.
podcast. You're on the podcast. Yeah. What would you like to share? Or
I want to ask you. It's recently came up, and there was kind of a interesting reaction for myself, and I wasn't sure of how to react for this. I had talk with the healer, and she was asking question, and she asked about the fertility and waiting and talking to baby spirits, and she asked me, what do you feel or you think if it's not gonna happen? So the pregnancy not gonna happen. Do you ever think about this, and what do you feel about that? And my first reaction, I didn't say anything. But my first reaction, it's like punch in the gut, and kind of the I want to close out. I don't want to talk to this person. I don't want to even think about this possibility. So I don't know if it's something I need somehow work on that, so I don't get these feelings, because people might ask. I mean, it didn't happen in all this time, but unfortunately, it's this person asked me this question, and I was surprised for my reaction, and I don't know how react normal for that. So I was just curious, what your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so again, being uncomfortable with being challenged, which is, to me, even though I could feel your energy and it feels very like you said, a punch in the gut, or it feels like, oh, I don't feel my optimism. I feel kind of down in a space that is actually asking you to be reflective with it. This is an opportunity for you to sit with. This is information from someone else to provoke you. It doesn't make, the answer true or false. It's like, what is my feelings now around that? And how do I now sit with the emotion without trying to make the emotion go away, right? This is what we always want to do. We have an emotion of sadness or anger, and we want to fix it. But what if there's really nothing to fix? And I know women that have been on a very long conception journey that are going to be you're going to be pushed up against, this is not going to happen, or other people are going to say no. And I've seen those women conceive. I've seen those women have children, and more than one child, even when they were told nope, 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 everybody's saying no, and you got to, do this or that. And so it's like you get to kind of sit with that and visit that going, okay. And I feel like it's important for us to do that. We do have to visit going, oh, what would it be? Yeah, this may not be possible, or maybe not possible in this moment. And then you have to, this is a good opportunity to journal about it, to get more, there's more feelings around you around it. And it's not about glossing over it and going, I'm okay. I'm just going to not think about what they said. I'm just going to push it away. No, it's like, let me just breathe it in. Let me just kind of let it be here. Like, this does not feel good. And it makes me feel whatever. Is it anger? Is it sadness? Like, what is that feeling? And being with it. Maybe that feeling is connected to something else that you've noticed. Oh, I noticed when I get like this, another feeling comes up. And what is that? Like, you can be a bit of a, spiritual detective with your own thought space, and then yet feeling the, maybe even explain, like, where is this in my body that I even feel it? And you don't have to go into, is this true or is this not true? That's where it feels like you can get a little, like, confused, where I have to fix this and then move on. But no, now is the time to, like, deepen it, elongate with it, and, like, let it really be there. It's kind of like when we have a sore muscle, like, just work it out, and it hurts. Like, what do you mean work it out? Like, it just hurts. And we can't. We have to, like, how do I stretch into it and move with it and be with the energy of it? And then see how it's, don't see how it's hurting you. See how it's kind of up-leveling you to just be aware that there's emotion around this journey for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, definitely, because it's kind of caught me off guard, and I never thought about this. I mean, not never, but maybe not for a long time, and never had the, people asking these questions. So I was like, oh my, I just want to run, and that's it.
Yeah. So even looking at the running, it's like, oh, like you said, the punch, this is like really good symbolisms that you're kind of absorbing and working it out, like being able to talk it out and go, yeah, like what is this? Like I'm feeling that running, that fleeing. And again, it's like, why do I have to run away and avoid it? Why is it so triggering? What is the, of course we know why it's triggering, but then you really sit with it and you keep sitting with it. And then you just kind of see if it wants to change, or it may not want to change yet, because it could be a very active point to sit with. And then you feel out like when that softens and when that moves into a different direction, and then what your fertility energies, where is it at, and what maybe this is even pushing you to be more aggressive in what the next option is. Like, what does it need to look like? Is it more reproductive stuff? Is it the partner's reproductive stuff? Is it, what is this next piece that may be provoking you to go, okay, because I do feel like then this is what we do, right? We're like feminine warriors, like, okay, I'm picking my energy back up and I'm regrouping. Like, what does this look like now? Like, how can you use, again, this time, not only just to be in the lower energy of process of the shadow, but then to move into being inspired to go, okay, I'm kind of coming up here, and this is another piece of what my next step is.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Gonna mute. So I have a few other hands that are raised here. And let me see if there's anything in the Q&A, and just, we'll kind of see, let's see what comes up. Oh, here we go. I'm just maybe clicking the wrong thing. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong thing. Here we go. Let's see what other questions. Wow, I love it. So, oh my gosh, there's so many great questions. Can I read them all? Hi, Kelly. I had a reading with you in December and connected with a twin-like energy. I took all your advice and worked on what you suggested. I let go of my fear and put trust in my body and myself, along with many things. After a birth loss, 5 years of infertility at almost 40, I'm 6 weeks pregnant. How magical. Yay. I'm so grateful. I feel confident but a bit fearful. Of course you do. And want to connect to babies. Does baby have any messages for me? I'm sure baby does have messages for you. This is amazing. Oh, baby, or is it babies? And it's so, what an exciting thing to receive right now in this time. And I don't have an answer for that. I really have to sit with your energy and really create a connection between that. So glad that you have shared your experience there. I have another question coming in that was from California. This is from North Dakota. My goodness, I don't know my states. That's so sad. That's what happens when you don't like history or geography. Did COVID change spirit babies from wanting to come if they had previously made it known they were coming? So I know that's the question. Because of this pandemic, this big shift, it doesn't change the consciousness of the soul wanting to be born or not. Because souls I want to say they kind of know what they're coming into a little bit. Some kind of do, some really don't. And so I haven't felt like within the spirit baby energy, has there been a really big change in this time with that? Maybe the parents getting more quiet, maybe accessing levels of fear to make space for the invitation of this being coming through. But I haven't seen anything substantial or overwhelming. There can be quiet periods when we're going through, like I would call ascensions. And we're always going through ascension, but I feel like people know what that means more now. I remember I learned about my own self-ascension 20 years ago when I was going through just it all the time. It was so painful because you feel sick and then you feel healthy and then you're emotional and then you're physically. And so we go through ascension still, but this could be more of a stronger ascension that happens. Let's see here, another question. Ever since, I don't know what country this is from. It's probably another country. I think maybe it's South America. Ever since my cycle's been canceled, my dreams with my baby have changed. I saw myself pregnant, but there was no feeling attached to it. Am I repressing my emotions, or these are not spirit baby dreams? I know that's such a tricky one, right? Because there's so many different kind of dreams. I feel like there's precognition, there's working out the subconscious stuff, and there's also spirit baby. I mean, it's a completely different vibration and energy. And this is where, I feel like you and others are practicing their psychic awareness in the earth time. So then in your sleep space, you actually can differentiate the energies. And, as we said, that in pregnancy, babies do, show up in different ways. Like a baby can definitely be very present at least 2 full years sometimes before they physically manifest in the body, which is very confusing to people. Because I feel like I'm pregnant, and a month goes by, another month goes by, another, because energetically you actually are pregnant. It just hasn't integrated yet. And so there's a psychic sense even around that. And so, I do feel like in dream world, it's good to tap into feelings. I feel like we kind of feel that, sometimes pregnancy is symbolic. I've had dreams where I was pregnant, which is quite impossible right now, and for many different conception reasons. And in those dreams, to me, when I've had those pregnant dreams, I'm first shocked and confused, and really, I'm actually very confused because I'm usually really pregnant. But for me, it's a metaphor of what am I pregnant with and what am I giving birth to. It doesn't actually literally mean that I'm going to have a child or be pregnant. But when I had spirit baby communication in dreams, I actually was never pregnant in the dreams. I saw the child coming to me. And that's my kind of interpretation. You can definitely dream. Spirit baby, I'm sure, can influence you seeing yourself as pregnant to get a message through. And so, you can definitely have a lot of big emotions. Yeah, you're, having a lot of big emotions, just kind of unwinding them, looking at them, processing. This is why I really am really into journaling, thanks to Molly Nichols. And just journaling, she told me years ago about journaling. I was like, what is she talking about? I literally started my journal a few years ago, and I wrote and I typed, which probably wasn't my form of journaling. I wrote, Molly told me to journal. I don't know what I'm writing about. Why is she telling me to do this? And now, fast forward years later, I have a journal that's a paper, and I tell people I feel like it's important. And journaling is not just lines and writing. It uses markers and colors, and you can write upside down, sideways, all different ways. But it's such an amazing process to get what you feel, what your thoughts are. Even if you're just not writing anything coherent, it doesn't really matter. It's like the journal is your therapist. And so maybe looking into getting a journal that, where is this dream space, getting it out of your head, putting it on the paper, and feeling like your emotional connection. What does this mean? And seeing how that works for you. See, another question. Is that a double question? Let's see. What does Spirit Baby need from me? I see that's coming in from New York. We have Illinois. What do you do with negative thoughts? This is never going to happen. And this is always when one has severe depression. Let's see, there's another, I don't know what country that is. What blockages need to be removed? Any advice from Spirit Baby? Michigan, I've tried to connect with Spirit Baby, and I think that I have. How do I know it was real or my imagination? Just conjuring thoughts or images, and it was real. How can I make the connection stronger? San Diego, we're ready to have another baby, but haven't conceived yet. Our last pregnancy ended shortly after learning our baby had a fetal diagnosis. This was just 8 months ago. I'm interested in connecting with the souls around us, learning more about them. He or she want to come into our lives. Let's see. Germany, how can I best support our spirit baby, our second child, and show him or her how they are already loved so they will join us soon and become a part of our family? I feel that this special time in the world is very helpful for me and wish so much for a healthy conception, pregnancy, and birth in the coming weeks and months. Another country, let's see, I don't know what country that is, trying to conceive our second baby for almost 3 years now. We have a beautiful, healthy 3-year-old on a long journey. Multiple miscarriages, failed IUIs, failed IVF with genetically tested normal embryos. I'm 40 and losing hope. I just don't know if there's another baby for us and don't know how to go from there. Any advice on how to connect? So it looks like a lot of the curious questions here is around connection. Am I doing this right? What is the spirit baby thing? Am I doing it right? Am I connecting appropriately or properly? Is it my imagination? Am I making it up? This is why the number one thing is, where is your psychic awareness? Where is your ability to receive the world and the energetics? And how are you pulling in this insight and information? I know that it is a huge practice. It's not, and some people are definitely more accelerated than others. There's the wisdom in that, as some people came into the earth that way, and others have just shut it down. I know that when, children, my gosh, children are so psychic and so present, and they becomes dormant for many people for a very long time, and sometimes it becomes active right after puberty, or even it remains dormant. And so this is an opportunity now, even with all these different questions and insights coming in, and I wish I could answer every single one, but I cannot at this time, unless we had like hours of time, because I want to get very intimate with these different questions that come up, and really I speak the language of energy. Not only my clairvoyance, my clairsentience is my major spiritual talent, let's just say. And I've always used the world through the feeling energy. And even before I recognized my clairvoyance, I would take anything I felt and I would put it into a visual imagery. And it sounds weird to say that, but that's just how it works. Even with Spirit Baby, when I'm talking to babies and I'm seeing things, and many that have had sessions know that I'm like trying to figure it out. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what this baby's trying to say. I'm like, I got to sit there with this information. And in that, I have to relay this information and this message. And other times it's very clear. It's like, oh, baby's like, okay, they're saying this and that. And I do feel like babies have different vibrations that they come into. And when you're kind of questioning, is this my imagination, or why can I hear baby? What does this look like? That is so intellectual, right? Because anything spiritual, from the psychic world, from the energetic, the intellect is like the observer. And what happens with a lot of people is you make the intellect you put the intellect in the main chair. The intellect needs to be the observer, and this is why meditation is important to practice, to be with, because when you're meditating, you can see the difference between your thoughts, the difference between your body, and the difference even between receiving psychic insight, psychic information. And as I said, it's a practice. It's different for everybody. And so you're having to build a certain level of skill through your meditation, even through Spirit Baby meditation, even through reading the books about Spirit Babies. I know there's not that many books out there. Spirit Babies, Walter McKitchen is probably the number one book that most people talk about in my presence, in my space over the years. And letting that book, charge up the energy to unfold you into going, what is my next step in this world of conception and pregnancy and multiple birth loss? Where do I fit in? Where do I sit? I know one of the questions that came in from Illinois was here about, what do you do if you have severe depression? I don't know if that means you already have severe depression, or the depression has come from the not being able to conceive or birth loss. I'm not really sure the story, but if there's a clinical connection to having a severe depression, I do feel depression I know my mom went through that and was very suicidal growing up, and I don't pretend to know what it's like to have that level of depression, but what I do know and what I've seen in my world is that, there's a deep holding of the past. And we're all made up of so much of our past, but there's something very deep and something that shifted literally the chemistry of the brain and the psychology of the self. And finding the origin of that, or even maybe it's the people, it's somebody, that's the identity of that. And using that, as I did earlier, talking about the opportunity to use what the pain is, the suffering, and seeing how, but for people with severe depression, severe anxiety, it's not an overnight fix, but there is a way to work with the subconscious. There's a way to work with the energetic field of the body to really incorporate a more balanced connection and awareness so that depression isn't in the way, in a sense, in the way from finding where that connection is with conception, pregnancy, or even the healing of birth loss. So I'm going to go into the call now, and I want to hear some voices. Don't be shy. Don't be shy, people. So I have a hand raised here. Aparna?
Hi, Kelly.
I don't know. Hi. I don't know. It doesn't have any city or state.
All right. I'm from Alabama.
Oh, there we go.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I had a call with you, I think, about the end of February.
Yeah.
And thank you. There was a lot of shifts that have happened after that. And I think I did take the input you gave me and all the information you provided during the call. It helped me to kind of streamline or understand which way I had to move through. I stood with my fears, explored a few things, and there's kind of an acceleration I can feel. And there's something that came up about 2 days ago when I started my period, and it was a real, it was kind of hard. The day one is always hard to let go and to know that it's not happened. So I was just tuning into my womb space, and the voice I heard from my womb it was really sad. It said, "All you want from me is a baby, isn't it?" And it just kind of ripped my heart. I hadn't realized that this was so much in doing. I mean, I just didn't know what I had to do. It was really emotional and kind of took me quite a wave. But it's at the end of it also feels really counterintuitive now to kind of tune in and visualize what I used to do, the visualizations, the meditations. It all seems like, oh my God, am I just doing that? Or what's the space I can be in now?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's true. It's like when we go into a meditation practice, does it become routine? And then in the routine, is it just our thoughts? That's what happens with a lot of people. It's just our thoughts, just rummaging around. But are we really having an emotional reaction to our body? Are we able to really kind of deepen? And as you said, it's like, oh my gosh, like your body is like speaking to you and telling you something. Like, is this what I am to you? And it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you felt that way. Thank you for communicating that through me. In this time of release of blood is a release. And so many feelings come up because then you question, where's the conception? Or is this blood releasing now to just further prepare me to conceive in the way that it's coming and how it's arriving, whether it's with intervention or not.
It's in a very kind of in-between world, I feel like I can no longer go back to being the way I have been doing, and just thinking that this is an active kind of process. But at the same time, I feel really detached now to the whole journey, and it's becoming like more receiving it rather than doing it. I don't know. It's just kind of really in a different world.
What a good space to be in. I there is something powerful to, you're feeling the doing, and you were in it before. You were so in it, and so that's all it felt like. And then now something has shifted and you're like, wait a second, what if now I really, and it sounds like you feel it organically in your presence of your being, that is the ability to receive and less the action. And I feel like we all go into doing. When I conceived my sons, there was a lot of, the first son, I was like, I didn't know what this whole thing, conception, was about. And I would like, every month I'm going, well, there's my period. That's weird. I mean, am I supposed to do something? I feel like I'm like watching it. And at that time, I didn't really know much about fertility treatments. I didn't know much about anything fertility. I didn't know that you could test when you ovulate. I was just kind of going with the flow of like, I think I'm ovulating. I didn't even know. And so now I'm like, oh, okay. And then month after month. And then I realized, too, there was a point where I was like, I'm stepping away and I'm bowing down to this other being. And I really felt it in all my presence. Like, I'm just receiving. Can I back away and just receive without? And I will do if I'm being asked to do, instead of like do you know. So I feel like a lot of people can really, I feel like all of us could really kind of get that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So anybody, look at all these people here. Also shy. Star 2 raises your hand. Maybe you're like too shy. I do feel like, if I'm looking at all these questions, again, all your energies are attached to these questions. And I know that it's probably, I'm getting just a really strong energy around Kristen in Germany. There's something about the energy of your message. I don't know if you're on the call. It's probably like, you're probably ready to go to bed over there. It's like 9 hours ahead. Maybe you won't feel shy to call in. It'd be interesting to see, just to connect with your energy in this time. But if not, I understand. You could be sleeping, or it could feel like you're not really sure how to dial in. Here's the dial-in number. Maybe I should give the dial-in number to make sure. It's 425-440-5010. The PIN is 979134 pound. Let's see here. There's a lot of different, let's see. Whoopsie, got to click the right button. Okay, here we go. I have a call here from Linda, California. Hello, Linda. You're on live. Do you hear me? She doesn't hear me. Linda, are you there?
Hello.
Linda.
It's
Linda,
Laura, actually.
Oh, Laura. I was like, it says Linda.
It says Linda. That's my mother-in-law. She's on the account.
Didn't we go through this before? I feel like I've said that
Probably.
before. Yeah, I do. This feels familiar right now. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Okay, so I wrote in. I don't know if I'm, pushing my luck here, but I wrote in about having a reading with you, working on everything, and I'm now pregnant.
Oh, yay. I know. I love that. I'm like, wow. Yeah, how are you feeling?
I'll try not to cry. Great.
Oh.
I feel great. Feel grateful and great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'm sure there's just your emotions are probably moving up and down, which is appropriate, right? I mean, you're not supposed to be like, okay, I'm just going to feel this way, because your journey has really kind of created where the energy is now. And so, being very kind of gentle. I do feel like the first trimester is so hard. It's probably the hardest out of all the trimesters. Your body's changing, and there's so much happening in your energetic space, in your physical space. And then you have all your history that provokes you as well. And so 6 weeks is still very early, but I want to say I'm picking up a girl energy, but I have kind of a new disclaimer on gender. It's like sometimes boys feel like girls and sometimes girls feel like boys. So there's some spirit energy there connected to this being. What are you, anything else you want to share?
I guess for the people listening, I just really feel like I had talked to you about surrendering to the unknown. And I really feel like I got to this place of surrendering fully and not just saying I was surrendering. And this time off has been really beneficial for me in so many ways. I won't get into all of them, but you know, I think that's a really important thing for everyone to completely surrender and trust your body and yourself. And we can always say that we do, but, you know, there's always that little nagging in the back of our head. We're not totally giving in. So I don't know. I just feel like that's helpful to me to trust that.
Yeah, such great insight to share. Such nice.
And thanks to you. You helped me with so many things.
Oh, that's really wonderful. And I'm trying to sit here as you're talking and see what kind of permission I could get to connect with your baby here. You can see more of a live kind of connection, how this works, because I'll even explain it. As I'm sitting here, I'm listening to your voice. I'm asking for higher energies to be connecting with your energy, because your own soul has permission in this. And then what I do is I'm looking in the background. I'm looking at this little being and this very strong light energy of this pregnancy that's with you. And again, it feels more like a girl to me. And the first energy that I hear from her is, "It's okay, mommy," which is so interesting because it sounds like a lot of kind of where you're at. So there's something that, you know, there's probably a sense of worry or more kind of energy around that, but there's something about her that's very comforting. And she kind of is around your upper shoulders, around your throat. But feels something like her presence to me is very, has almost a little bit of a caretaker energy to it already. Like she's really kind of nourishing the spaces with you. But also her presence is very, you know, she's her own, you know, connection to her own soul self. But it doesn't feel super girly to me. That's why I'm like, it just feels like sometimes girls feel like they're in their princess dresses or something, but it doesn't feel like that. It just feels more, not tomboy, but just, you know, not so girly.
That sounds like me as a child.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course there's an overlapping of that as well, you know, especially with babies. Like they're definitely going to kind of be a lot similar to their parents. Like my older son is a lot like that, even though he looks so much like me. It was kind of creepy as a baby, even as a kid, and he's a boy. I'm like, my husband, sorry for him, like he looks nothing. My husband's Filipino, and my kid looks white. So I'm like, I don't know what the gene pool does. Like, I'm sorry, like he's just got mine. But it's sweet because he's like a boy. But it's like, I was like, oh, maybe that's the girl version of me someday. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or the boy version of me.
Yeah.
To see that is quite interesting. But let's see, is there any other? And so as I'm just kind of feeling your baby's energy, again, I'm looking for permission. I'm looking for where their frequency is and how they move about you. And of course, as I say, women in pregnancy, just because the baby's outside of the body doesn't mean anything negative. It's just the soul is always moving in different directions, and how I interpret even the connection of the soul in a certain way. And of course, sometimes there are multiple energies into the space, whether that's immediate or whether that's somewhere down into the timeline. It's always possible. So I see her energy share a little bit about something about your partner comes up, father energy, just something about eating. I'm seeing her like,
oh
eating,
my God,
something about the way that he's eating. There's a concern or something.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Yes, she's right.
Yeah, so baby knows everything. Don't expect that they don't. And so babies, you know, their energy, their soul body is kind of with you. And so when you're talking to baby being, you know, I always tell people if they don't know if it's a girl or boy, you can definitely call baby being. And if you have some, you know, loving nicknames is always really sweet to do. And, you know, continue to, I do feel like in the trimesters of pregnancy, we kind of meet our bodies and baby where they're at. And so knowing that baby has a full energetic language and vocabulary right now, like you can kind of sit in your meditation, tap in, let me see what I always like to do. And you've had a session with me before, and so I always like to kind of like, let me tap in and see, how is this being, what is their best way of communication with you now? We know how that can always change. Let me see. Mommy, I like mommy. There's something around a little bit of music, but the music isn't so strong, so using sounds. But I'm seeing baby showing me a notebook, like mommy needs to write, so you may just have to write, whether it's a poem, a letter, and just get some words out on paper.
Okay.
There's some connection that right now, and that may change. Like in a month or two, baby may be like, let's dance this communication out. Let's, but there's something around music and writing, and it may just be, where your energy's now, and then you'll see as you move through the weeks and the different trimesters where your communication will shift around. And don't be nervous if you don't. A lot of women get nervous, especially in the first trimester, sometimes in the middle, they question, or even at the end, like, why isn't baby talking to me? And it's okay for you to go into the world and not think about baby every second. It's really okay. So give yourself permission to know that when you're kind of moving between energies, then you can definitely experiment with that, which is nice. You can go, I'm going to sit in this other meditation, or I'm going to do this other thing, or let's go on a walking meditation, baby, and just listen. It's really a time for you just to kind of listen and relax, and just kind of, which, with the world, with the global stuff happening, you can kind of relax a little bit. You could, it's an opportunity to just kind of get a little quiet and really, really nurture yourself. You don't have to deal with, hopefully a lot of loud energy, and just kind of more settled in. Well, thank you, Laura, for sharing.
Thank you.
So wonderful.
What do you recommend for the next session that I come to talk to you? What's a good timing?
Everybody always asks that. There really is no specific timing. I mean, it's really whatever you feel good at. Like, I've seen women in the beginning, in the middle, at the very end. Sometimes it's like a little bit of both. Depends. Sometimes in the beginning it feels really needed, or in the middle. And then a lot of people do like the end because they're like, what's this happening? What's the labor look like? What's baby doing? And it's really fun. Like in my own energetic space, I can see labor energy. I could see where I was never able to do that years ago. But now I'm like, this is fascinating. There's a whole energetic thing that happens in labor and birth. And when to prepare. It's nice to feel somewhat prepared. So you kind of, you vibe it out. And I look forward to connecting with you, hopefully in the next month or sooner.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that was really fun. We're coming up close here to the end of this special episode 85. I love that a lot of the energies of the people in this space, there's a lot of collaborative energies. I feel like there's a lot of similar stuff kind of showing up. That's what it feels like to me energetically. And I love that there are people that have seen me before. This is even rare. This is fun. I wasn't expecting that. So I'm going to take one more call here. It's from Toronto, Canada, Ontario. Am I saying that right? Hello. You're on the air. I'm so professional. But I have no name. It's a cell phone. Are you there? Hello.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Hey. Good. How are you?
Good.
It's Garima.
Oh. I didn't recognize your number.
I don't know why it's not showing a name. Yeah.
Okay,
I didn't know how to put my
today.
name in. I cannot do technology.
That's okay. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Really good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I had a question. So
yeah.
I've been having sessions with you since before even like kind of starting our journey and after our loss. And now that, I'm almost starting my third trimester, I find it like, how do you feel about like, I feel that before we get pregnant, we have all this, I guess, communication and everything that we do to connect with the baby and align ourselves right. And then suddenly you get pregnant. And I think in my head, I feel like, well, now that I'm pregnant and there's a baby in me, I should have more communication. But my baby's just gone quiet. And I can't tell if the baby's gone quiet, if I'm not communicating right, or what's going on.
Yeah, it's hard to not judge that, right? Because there is going to be quiet times. I mean, I felt like with my second pregnancy especially, it felt very quiet. It felt like it made me nervous. Like, why is it so quiet? And it felt a little frustrating. It can feel frustrating. But this is where you go, okay, you kind of regroup and look at your own vibration. Like, where is your space? It's okay, because you don't want to create like anxiety or fear. Like, oh my gosh, my baby doesn't like me. They're not talking to me. It's like our minds could just go so twirling around all these different things that come up. And you have to, continue to trust like where your inner spiritual listening skills are, that, that her quietness at times has a purpose. It's not to torture you either, which can feel that way. Because you are, as I know, we've worked together, you navigate between not just one spirit energy, but another energy as well.
Yes.
And so with the two energies, it almost to me feels like your little being, little girl, it feels like to me her energy when it steps forward, it's like almost like she's telling me, I don't want to interfere. She doesn't want to be a loud presence because, again, you're in connection with two energies. And to me, she almost feels like if I'm too loud, there's something that feels lost for you if she's too loud, because you need to feel the subtleness of both these energies in a really kind of calm way. To me, it's so clear, actually, the way that she's kind of presenting that. And so she's actually doing it on purpose. So, and you're just, again, she doesn't want to feel like she's intervening with her brother, right? And so this is good for you. So you're kind of, you may feel one energy over another. It's okay to go back and forth. And there's something really kind of beautiful about it. It feels really nourishing, really, to your heart space. And so, just kind of talk to her and say, you know what, okay, I get it. You're here. And we're in communication, but, you can even ask her, we can ask her even now, like when you get closer to birth, like please show your presence stronger, and she'll do that. She'll show up for that. And so, just kind of, so this is, you're like interesting that maybe it felt kind of unsure to you or kind of a little stressful is actually quite okay. Mm. I really like the way she shared that. I really can feel what she was going with that.
Aww. Yeah, I just always found it so interesting how, like, before conception, she had so much to say, so much to communicate, and then she's like, no, I'm just going to go quiet. And I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? We were talking a lot.
But she did her part. It's what you needed, and she showed up for that. And then now she's sharing you with her brother, so there's two energies. It almost feels like they want the equal share. It has to be, but it's her choice. She's created that for you.
Yeah.
And everything feels pretty good energetically for you. Like, just even that message to me, it feels like, okay, you're in a balance right there. You're just, now you could find something else to see, like, okay, put that to rest now, and let's see what else comes up. Maybe there'll be some other interesting insights that get to come in your direction.
Yeah, I guess as long as everything's okay. Like you've said before, when they go quiet, it just kind of almost makes you nervous.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's good. It means you're aware, really. It's like, oh, look, something's happening. Okay, you're aware. Like, that's great, actually. Just even that alone is like you're just paying attention. Mm-hmm. Even though I know the past can definitely have provoked, a little bit of more fear, but it's like still you're like, oh, you get to kind of rework that into going, okay, I'm just being self-aware and I'm questioning things. It's normal to do that. You want to question things.
True, yeah. Thank you.
Karma, so nice to see you. Thank you. Oh, such a treat. Let me see, as we're coming to the end again, I wish I could keep going on and on. This will be like a really long podcast. could really tune in. Some other questions that I have come in. Let me see. How do you decide if you do a reading with only the mother versus a couple reading? I do work with a lot of individuals, mothers to be. Also, I do work with couples. I find that some people just come as a couple and they want it's a different session. It's an hour and a half, and it's more involved with, both people in that journey. And sometimes I'll see individuals and the couple within that, which is always really nice and helpful. And sometimes some of the mother-to-be's will pay for sessions for their husbands or partners because, especially if they're open-minded. I know some partners may not be so open-minded, but I've met such amazing, we'll talk more about the masculine partnership, but I met some amazing men that were just so present and so receiving of their energetic body and their communication with baby. And so it's a very different experience in the session. I would always recommend individuals coming first and really vibing out their own personal experience and if their partner is open and what that looks like. And even in saying that, I have just seen couples. And some couples like to come a few times to kind of check in and see where things are at and what they can do. Because I like to do in the couple session, I like to create a meditation together as a couple to kind of connect and to see where baby energies are and to see, what the next steps are, what that looks like more individually a little bit, but also as a union together. Because people have so much. Our bodies are energetic maps of past information, of present information, and sometimes future information. And so there's so much information that with a couple, there's a lot of stuff that does kind of get revealed. And so you have to have an openness from your partner to be revealed and seen in a certain way. Another question, what if you have no communication at all with baby while pregnant? Is that baby's wishes? Why would baby want that? We already just kind of just talked to that. You can see even just with that one story with Garma that I shared, I was actually surprised. This is where I love this connection and serving others because I learned something new. I wouldn't have thought about that. It really has nothing to do with my thought process. It literally is information coming through. And when I saw the baby, and I have worked with her through her journey a bit. And so when I saw the way her daughter was sharing that, it was like, oh, I'm sharing with my sibling. I was like, oh, yeah, of course you are. I respect that. Yeah, let's talk. Let me bring that information to your mom so then your mom could settle in and not create all these, illusional fantasies of something bad, right? That's what we do. Well, baby doesn't want to talk to me. I'm no good. And gosh, we're so hard on ourselves. And that's just not the truth. Let's see, any other questions? Of course, other questions coming in. Oh, Columbia. Oh, thanking me for talking about the energetically. You're pregnant energetically, so it's like, what is that? Keep the faith. New York, I had a few miscarriages in my fertility journey thus far. My most recent one's December. Will these souls return to me? I have a lot of philosophies around miscarriage and souls coming back. I do have a podcast on miscarriage, but I have multiple podcasts on loss. I do definitely promote people that are dealing with multiple miscarriages and even with any kinds of birth loss to go to my birth loss page on my website. And what I did in that page is I took all the 80 out of the 85 podcasts, I took a bunch of them and put links of the ones that are around grief and death and healing. And, again, you're going to hear me with miscarriage. Yeah, there's a level of death. I'm not going to be shy around that. It's very important to look into that energy and be with that. And so you can definitely tune in and see what my perception is around that because it's different for everybody. It's not the same. Let's see. So another question. I tried to get pregnant for more than 10 years. Do you see a baby for me? That looks like, is that Maryland? Maybe that's Maryland. Again, that's a question for a session. That's a big question. And I know, in a one session, I actually promote packages with people, and I do invite people that have synergy with me to work with me on a longer term. And I do that with a group of different women that I've kind of been supporting for quite some time. And so a 10-year journey, that's a lot of energy to unwind. And so I can I feel like in one session with people, I can give you a piece of maybe what is stuck or what is the obstacle that then wants to be developed. And in my sessions, I give a homework. Even if you're coming to me one time, I'm like, here's your homework. I don't want to leave people going, okay, great, I shared information, but now what? Like, let's do the homework. And not only am I talking to baby, and I don't talk to the baby for like an hour. So this is more than just like a spirit baby reading, right? It's more of a session, and it's very therapeutic, and there's a lot of different pieces in that I'm literally, I feel like, fine-combing through your energy field, looking at certain energy centers, and really with the intention of conception or pregnancy or birth loss. Like, where is your energy? How are you connecting? What are the next steps? And what are all the other pieces you've done to create that? And what looks like it wants to unfold next? And so, you know, I do feel like in more of that private space, there would be probably more of a solid answer. I couldn't say in this time. Okay, we have, let's see. I'm going to take one more call. I think that came through here. Let's see, maybe I won't read. Is this from New Zealand? Yeah, I'm going to take your call. You're going to be the final call. This is a bit extra long podcast, which is fine. From New Zealand, Melissa. Melissa?
Yes.
Hi, you are here. How are you? Uh-oh.
Hear me?
Oh, there you are. You disappeared and came back.
Oh, yeah.
How are you?
Sorry. I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, I saw your question came in, and I was going to read it. Do you want me to read your question, or do you want to tell me?
Yeah, that's fine. You can read it out.
Okay, it says, hi, Kelly. I had a stillbirth in December, and we are TCC again. It took us 5 years to conceive. We went through IVF, and then I just fell pregnant naturally after IVF finished. Just wondering how to keep the faith in this journey, connect to our little girl in spirit who is yet to come while having the connection with baby who passed. So are you currently pregnant now? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not currently pregnant now, but I definitely feel like the spirit of another baby girl coming through, which is different to the baby girl spirit that passed.
Yes.
So I feel like there's these two energies here.
Yeah. So your question is how to keep the faith. My goodness. So, you know, it's so interesting that, you know, you're sharing this, because I do see a lot of women, and some even showed up in this call, who've had, you know, later loss and having to build communication with that being, but also inviting or being open for another, you know, sibling really to come through, and really trusting your connection of feeling. And I feel like this is really powerful to hear what you just said, because you feel like there's another girl presence with you. And I feel like what happens a lot with later loss, and even later loss, infancy loss, there's an expectation that the same person's coming back. And a lot of times it's not true. And I want to like really emphasize that your ability to feel like, oh, there's another being coming through and it feels like a little girl. And then to build your connection. It doesn't mean that you're denying. And so this is where it gets a little tricky. This is why I actually do a monthly group. And I really do want to create another monthly group. It's a very small, sacred group of women. And a lot of them have gone on from like either stillbirth or infancy loss to conception to pregnancy. And then they're like scared, so scared, right? It's like, Now what do I do with this? What am I supposed to do with this? Because you are supposed to communicate between two souls. You actually are. You're allowed to connect with your daughter that has not, you know, came into earth body in the way that was invited and expected. And then you get to invite what this new connection is with this other being. And that's where it's really exercising really your psychic space, because now you're navigating between these different energies. And I almost feel like, I wonder if that's your, which girl energy that is, because there's a girl energy with you to me that feels very outgoing, a very outgoing personality, like very loud.
Yeah.
She's trying to get my attention.
And
so,
I think that's on that path.
Okay, like this is not a shy girl here. This is not like, I'm just going to sit in the back. It's like, I'm here, look at me. I'm going to get the pots and pans out and jump around. What's her name?
Manaya.
Oh, Manaya. Oh, my gosh, I love that name. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Manaya, what are you needing from Manaya, do you feel in your life right now?
I'm not sure. I do like feel her around a lot. You know, there's kind of a wondering, like, you know, in the spirit baby realm, is like, would Manaya be with this other baby or not, or would they be in different spaces? Yeah, like, I just feel like possibly it wasn't her right, you know, time to come in. Yeah.
Yeah, babies can be in different vibrations, but a lot of times what I see when there's a loss like that, they're actually, the siblings are quite close, and usually like Manaya's role right now is to actually help her sibling come through. That's what happens and what I've seen, and it's a very endearing, very beautiful connection. And so there does become this support of energy around that. So maybe you have been suspecting that or sensing into that. Even though the vibrations can be different, because there are different personalities, so they're coming from different kind of places of awareness. But there's always, what I've seen again is the helping of that, and so you get to call upon your daughter in a way that then allows this next kind of, you know, space of moving into a pregnancy, you know, with a lot of fear and a lot of faith at the same time. It's not going to be one or the other, and you'll know that, you'll feel that, you'll sense into that and see what that's like. And, you know, now is the time to, of course, be present to your grief, to be present to your emotional space, because it's the emotional space that's going to hold a lot of what kind of unfolds before you and what's next. And it's not about perfection. You don't have to be healed to receive conception and pregnancy.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, what time is it where you are?
It's about like 8:30 in the morning where I am. So yeah,
that's not bad.
Time.
Okay.
Yeah, the next day probably
you're like,
for you guys.
Yeah, the next day. I was just going to say, because I have a lot of Australian ladies, I'm always like, okay, it's the next day. At this time, it's probably early in the morning. So I'm like kind of getting the vibe, what it's like over there. And I know because in Europe, I'm like, my gosh, they're probably, it's like past midnight at this point. Okay. Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Okay, so now, let me make sure everybody is muted. Here we go. It was really beautiful connecting. Thank you all for joining episode 85, April 18th. 2020, for sharing all your very deep, vulnerable, expansive insights of love, of tragedy, of evolution, of expansion, and always know and trust that spirit baby, your connection, your psychic space is always expanding, and you always have a opportunity to see how you navigate, especially in this time. If you like my podcast, please subscribe, leave reviews. Thank you for joining this podcast this week. Please check out my book. It's a journal called Sacred Communication, a Spirit Baby Journal, and that can be found at my website.
This is Spirit Baby Radio. Thank you for joining Kelly in the energy of awareness, love, healing, and soul communication. Please join the next episode at www.soulbabycommunication.com.